Hey y'all, as promised, here is part 2. The title is self-explanatory, so I don't want to waste too much time with this intro. Let's jump right into it. Bone stock. This term refers to a car that is completely stock. To be stock means to be original, unmodified, or not have any aftermarket parts. This term can be used as a friendly insult, oftentimes to tease beginner car enthusiasts who just got their first car. It's common for most people at car shows and car meets to ask what mods you've done to your car, as it's an easy way to start a conversation and learn about each other's cars. Having a bone stock car can make your car quite boring to talk about in some cases. Notice how I said in some cases, because being bone stock isn't always bad, especially for certain vehicles, for example collector cars or supercars. A bone stock first generation Acura NSX is very hard to come by, and it commands a lot more respect and actually carries more value than a modified one. In fact, that is the case for a lot of cars, especially collector cars, is that most people return them to bone stock whenever it's time to sell them because they actually sell for more stock than they do when they are modified. That kind of carries true for most vehicles. It's counterintuitive to what you'd expect, but I explain it much better in this video. On the topic of stock, plain, and vanilla, I'll quickly define OEM since that word is oftentimes used in tandem with stock. OEM is an acronym that means Original Equipment Manufacturer. For example, if you own a Ford vehicle and order a part from one of Ford's many official equipment manufacturers across the world, you've just bought an OEM part. If you buy a part that isn't OEM, then it's probably aftermarket. In the car community, aftermarket usually refers to performance parts manufactured to replace and upgrade stock parts on your car. This process is referred to as modding. A side note I'll mention is that most non-car people normally freak out whenever they hear aftermarket because to them, aftermarket usually means a cheaper substitute part made by some shady factory in China. While those aftermarket parts certainly do exist, most of us car guys don't ever use that kind of aftermarket. So whenever you hear us talking about aftermarket, the aftermarket mods that we're talking about are oftentimes an upgrade and most of the times have better build quality in most cases. Whenever we say we've modified our car with aftermarket parts, it's a phrase that comes with a level of pride, except for when I kind of talked about how some cars are better bone stock, blah blah blah, you get the point, certain exceptions. Anyways, to us, modifying our cars is a way to express ourselves. Whether if it's in the name of performance, appearance, or whatever, it's just what we like to do. So to any non-car people watching this video, just keep in mind that not all aftermarket components are cheap knockoffs, and for the love of God, stop freaking out whenever we mention aftermarket. Kansei drifto. This refers to a skilled inertia drift that only the most professional drivers and racers can accomplish. This phrase became a meme thanks to Initial D, and fun fact, when I first saw this phrase, I kept misreading it as Kansai Dorito, which is not at all how you say it or how you read it. Anyways, speaking of Doritos, Doritos are also kind of another meme in the car community. Kind of on the topic of that, not all cars have traditional V or inline cylinder setups. A certain breed of engines, known as Wankels, quickly garnered a cult following amongst many Mazda owners. These engines are better known as rotaries, and oftentimes are jokingly referred to as being powered by Doritos since they're shaped like a Dorito. I won't go too in-depth about engines here since I believe that they deserve an entire video all to their own. Someday I'll make a video explaining all the various engines, like boxers, rotaries, flats, inlines, Vs, and so on. But for now, let's just keep on with this video. Eurobeat. Back to the topic of Initial D, another stupid meme, legendary meme that spawned was Eurobeat. Eurobeat was actually a very popular British dance pop music throughout the 80s and 90s. So what the hell does it have to do with cars? Nothing initially. Ha, get it? I used the word initially because it had nothing to do with cars until Initial D came along. Yeah, for various cultural reasons, Eurobeat was the choice of music for the famous anime Initial D. Thanks to the show, this genre of music has stood the test of time or annoyed the crap out of you, one or the other, and the anime has spawned a ton of JDM fanboys and made several JDM legends known to oversee viewers. And even if you don't like anime, because of Initial D, JDM culture and JDM influence here in the West exploded. And honestly, that's amazing because our import scene has become, a lot of people who are in the import scene have joined it because of this stupid anime and all the dumb memes it spawned. But you know what? I respect the hell out of it because I'm glad for anything that makes the car community grow. It is also a proven fact that if you drive with Eurobeat music on, you become an instant drift god. Disclaimer, this isn't actually true. I'm not responsible for any crashes that occur due to anyone who believes that. Speaking of JDM, JDM is an acronym that means Japanese Domestic Market. I fully define the term and how to use it properly in this video right here, so I'll link that right up there. Anyways, you're probably like, Bleeded, you sure are recommending a lot of videos to us. I mean, I don't like to repeat things that I've already said, and hey man, I'm just trying to get more views cause your boy's now doing YouTube full time. Too long of a story to cover here, so just go watch my videos and subscribe to me with like 5 fake accounts to help me out. Just kidding, don't actually do that. Instead, subscribe to me with at least 10 fake accounts. Anyways, moving on. When talking about horsepower, brake horsepower is almost always the figure many manufacturers use when showcasing the specs of their car. This is the power output of an engine measured at the engine's flywheel. For all the non-car people, you're probably like, wait, there's another way of measuring horsepower? Yes, there is. And that would be wheel horsepower. Wheel horsepower is the power output measured at the wheels. Most dynos measure wheel horsepower, and you're probably confused why this is even necessary, but I'll explain it as simply as possible. Most cars make less wheel horsepower than brake horsepower, since by the time the power actually makes it to the wheels and makes contact with a surface, some power is lost along the way. For this reason, most car enthusiasts actually use wheel horsepower when talking about our car's output, since to us it's a more accurate representation of our car's potential. Also, because most of us visit a dyno anyways to get our car tuned whenever we add more mods. I'm sure most of us remember the wheel horsepower of our car better than our date of birth sometimes. EconoBox, a small, boxy, and fuel-efficient car with hardly any luxuries. These cars are for people who could care less about cars and just use them for transportation. E85. E85 is an abbreviation typically referring to an ethanol fuel blend of 85% denatured ethanol fuel and 15% gasoline or other hydrocarbon by volume. It makes for great fuel for high-performance racing, thanks to E85's greater heat of vaporization compared to gasoline. Alright, so these next few terms are going to be pretty heavy to digest, so bear with me here. Rev matching. Rev matching is used when downshifting to smooth the transition between gears and prevent shock loads through the transmission. For manual transmission vehicles, this is a very important thing to know so you don't screw up your car and make its lifespan shorter than that of a mosquito. Heel and toe. Again, this pertains to manual vehicles. Heel and toe is exactly what it sounds like. It's a technique that involves pressing the brake with your toe and then tilting your heel out to tap the gas slightly. This technique is used to make rev matching more efficient, and is a very important skill to master if you're looking to get the most out of your vehicle on a track or just for performance driving in general. For a more thorough explanation as well as a demonstration, here's a link to Engineering Explains video about the subject. Blip. A blip is a burst of throttle in RPM as a result of giving the gas pedal a quick jab, especially during downshifts. This oftentimes results in the car making a blip sound, and most of the times when people use the word blip, they're going to refer to the sound instead of the action. Anyways, I've seen way too many people just call any sound that a car makes revving, and this mostly upsets me whenever I hear a car downshifting on campus, and some snowflake off to the side is like, wow, what a show-off douche revving like that. Like, don't flatter yourself. You're not anyone special enough to be worth showing off to, you freaking normie. They're just trying to make sure their car doesn't die young because last time I checked, repairing cars are expensive. So next time you see someone blip their throttle while slowing down, you now know that they aren't doing it to impress anyone, they're just looking out for their car and themselves. Paddle shifters. Some automatic vehicles come with these paddles behind their steering wheel, marked with a minus and plus sign respectively. Their main purpose is to allow the driver to shift the car and put it through its gears manually. However, unlike a standard manual transmission, paddle shifters do not require you to physically operate a clutch, so they are oftentimes seen as a more efficient way to shift. They are a balance between engagement and efficiency. They will never be as fun as a traditional manual, nor as ruthlessly efficient as a CVT. but they have certainly become more and more popular amongst manufacturers of modern performance vehicles, especially with luxury cars, supercars, hypercars, and even race cars. So before some manual elitist comments, lol, paddles are for pussies compared to stick shift. Yeah, go tell that to Christian von Koenigsegg in his world record holding Agera RS. Also, just a side note, not all paddle shifters are dual clutches. This is a very common misconception amongst fledgling enthusiasts. Also, dang, I didn't realize I'd throw so many transmission terms like CVT and dual clutch in this video, like I did with all the engine terms like rotaries and Doritos and whatnot. Doritos are not an engine, you know what I mean. I'm done. I'm getting to the end of this video. I'm checked out already. Anyways, I should probably make a video about transmissions too, now that I think of it. Someday for sure. Anyways, make sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already, especially if you're about to comment a suggestion. So before you ask, but where's insert word I've already covered, go watch part 1, alright? Alright. As always, thank you for watching, and see y'all next time. Bladed Angel out.